Hey guys, Mackay here with Ironside Ranch, and today we're going to talk about water lines. Alright, so we had a question come in from a viewer from our other waterline video where we kind of went over how the connectors work and everything on the waterline system that we use. So we'll briefly touch on that, but what they asked us is they asked, hey, can you show us kind of the layout, how you actually set this up on your farm, maybe a diagram. So we got the whiteboard behind us and we're going to show you a little bit about what that looks like. But first, before we jump into that, let's talk about specifically what the water pipes are that we're using. Just in case you haven't seen the other video, if you want more detail, you can go to that last video that we did on it. And that'll give you the nitty-gritty on where we get our water line and how we're using it. So the long and short of it is we use this black polyethylene, high-density polyethylene pipe, so HDPE. This is 3/4 outside diameter pipe. There's different ways of measuring it. Some of them are done inside diameter, some of them are done outside diameter. We buy from PowerFlex Fence. They have the best prices and the best selection of connections and stuff like that to go with it, and theirs is all done by the outside diameter. So this is 3/4 outside diameter pipe. This is what we use for all of our supply lines. Now when we run our well, we just got our well drilled the other day, so now we're getting ready to install the well pump. We'll have videos on that coming up soon. When we run our well, we're probably going to use a 1 or 2 inch pipe to actually lift the well water out. That's a different discussion, but for our distribution lines, 3/4 inch pipe does everything that we need it to do. So these are the connectors that we use to put this in, and I'll show you here real briefly. There's this little compression fitting and then an O-ring behind it, so that all slides in there, and all we do, slide our pipe in, put our compression fitting over the top and tighten that down, and you'll finish it obviously with a set of channel locks, not just by hand, but that's actually in there pretty solid now, just like that. So that, even I think with hand tightening like that, probably would not leak. These are great fittings, guys. Are very easy to go on. They can be moved around, so you can change up things over time as you like it, and they're the only way that we found that effectively connects this type of pipe. You can use hose barbs. You can heat the pipe up so it's malleable, and you can use hose clamps, to crank down around that to get it tight. They leak like crazy. We have a lot of problems with them, so we use only these connectors here that you get straight from PowerFlex Fence. Okay, so let's jump in and see what this actually looks like and what our farm layout looks like here at our house. All right, so let's just make this simple. So depending on your farm layout, you might have to do a different one. So we'll do 2 scenarios. We'll show you our farm, and then we'll show you another layout. So we have a water line right here. So this will be whatever your water source is, whether that's a well or a pond or a stream, whatever your water source is that you're pumping out of. In our case, we actually ran this straight off of a hose bib here for this side. So our farm, it's a small farm. We have a road that comes through it, and this goes back to people's acreage back behind us. So we do have one easement through our property, and we have our first field, the big field that we've been working on, is all over here like this. It makes a big triangle, and so we've got this side fenced and this side fenced. This is the side that you've seen us working on here in the last couple of videos. We've been clearing like crazy back there to try to get that side fenced. But anyway, so we needed water as we rotated the cows through here. Now we have a fence, that runs right here to the water point basically. So, and then our house being here, so basically we've got fencing like that. And so the way that we laid ours out is we had a hose bib here, and we ran that hose bib, and we ran one line back this way, and we went up and over the hill with another line like this. And then we put connectors here, 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 and here. Okay, so we have all these connectors around here. Each one of these connectors is less than 200 feet from the next water source. So that distance there is less than 200 feet. And what we did with those, the reason we did 200 feet is because we have a hose that we connect in here, and that hose is 100 feet long. So anywhere in here, I can have my temporary fence set up, and I can set up a grazing plot like that, or you know, something like that. However I want to set up my grazing plot with my temporary fence, but I have water sources all around. So we always did it 200 feet between points. Now, I didn't measure that, guys. Those are eyeballed 200 feet. So there's enough leeway in here because I can always just make my grazing plot bigger or smaller to readjust for this, or make it a slightly different shape. So as we're rotating through. So that's our general diagram. Now, let's do this. Okay, so over here, I'm sorry guys, I'm left-handed, I'm having to do this with my right hand, so this is kind of awkward. So over here there's our road that comes through, and we have more land over this way, and this is obviously not to scale, so this is the big portion of our land. Okay, so now over here, so this is our house here. This is where we're putting our big barn that you've seen in videos us talking about. That's where the barn's going. Okay, and then this is where our well was just drilled right here. So this well has to get drilled underneath this road and will be supplying water all around. This well will provide all the water for our property. But what we're going to do with this is the first section that we're actually fencing is an already cleared section that actually makes something like that. It makes this big loop. And what it was is the person that had that on the property before us was a hunter, and they had their path cleared in there, their walking path. And so we'll eventually tackle some of these other areas in here and start putting up perimeter fence one section at a time and tying it into this fence. But we want to be able to use grazing, and this gets us 70% of that land over there. It's actually, like I said, it's not to scale, it's a lot bigger than the way this looks. But the way that we'll draw this out is we'll run this water line from the well, and we'll run one all the way across up here, and we'll put T-connectors in here that take our grazing and allow us to have water. Well, I guess we can take that all the way to the end, and it allows us to have water all the way down. Now, there's other ways that you can set this up, obviously. If your property is more circular or a big square and you don't have all the stuff in the way like we do, or say you've already got this fence. Let's say you bought 10 acres, and your 10 acres are already fenced, and you had your house over here on the road, had a main road there, kind of a common layout, right? We got our well point back here. Then at this point in time, we have a number of ways that we could do this. We could run a water line here and then run bibs out that way. That would be perfectly acceptable to do. Really, you can figure it out what's the easiest way to run the water line versus how much line. The line is cheap, so don't get too caught up on being the most efficient with the line. I mean, you could be fairly inefficient and run it like this and run diagonal pieces like that. Which obviously takes some water line, but it's not really a huge deal because, like I said, these are really, really cheap, guys. That water line is I think it's $300 for 500 feet or something like that. Really cheap water line, and so this is not any type of problem here. And basically, what we do is we put a bib there, and a bib here. Now, the one problem that we run into with this is these connectors here. Those are the expensive ones, the female connectors that go in the ground. There's not really any way to reverse it and make the cheaper ones the ones in the ground. It doesn't work. We tried it. You could do it with shutoffs and everything, but it takes away the convenience of it. These are the expensive ones, so each one of those is about 12 bucks. So I mean, it's not outrageous. You're not paying 50 bucks, but each one of those is about 12 bucks or so. And you know, you've got 9 there, plus let's say we did one here, maybe one back here. You know, maybe we wanted to eventually run a water line here because we bought some more land over this way or whatever it is we want to tie into it. And so that's the issue that we run into with it. All right. So let's say we have our house here, a line here, or a road there, and we have our fence here. Now I'm not an artist, guys. We want to purchase this plot of land over here, and then this guy has some land up over here that we'd like to purchase at some point in time if he'll ever sell it to us. Now, our hose bib comes all the way here to the edge of the property. It takes nothing for me to tap into this, and I can run another line here, and then I can run another line up here. Actually, I guess I don't need to go that far up. I can run another line right up there, and I could come straight off of this here and straight off of this here. Now each one of these is about 5 acres. So if I have one water point here and I do let's say, like I said, 100 foot or even a 200 foot hose, I could reach there, let's just say for sake of argument. But my paddock is going to come like this. I'm sorry guys, you can't see that. let's say I can reach my hose over to here, but I can't get it all the way over here. I can always just make my paddock come to the end of that hose. It's not hard to do that. So this is what we're looking at is trying to do. So we want to make the most efficient of our water line, but water line is cheap, so you don't have to go crazy with how efficient it is. Okay guys, I hope that helps you out. Like I just wanted to do a short video to show you how we actually lay out the water lines and kind of what the capabilities are using this type of water line. This type of water lines can be laid directly on the surface. It's the other big advantage that we get from it, because it's really easy to change up as we go. We can bury it, we can put it right on the surface, we can do whatever we want with it. We have a lot of options there. And so when we put ours directly on the surface, and then we'll bury it over time as we find that, okay, this is a permanent location we want. We're going to bury it down about 18 inches because we're in Alabama. It's not like living up north where you got to go 4 feet down or whatever. It's a bunch further. And so we don't have to worry so much about that. So we're going to go 18 inches down if we bury it, but if we don't bury it, it doesn't matter, because we're only grazing with this during the summertime and during the warm weather. When it hits wintertime, we drain the water out of it, we bring the cows up closer to the house, and we do hay feeding near the house. So that water line is not really the important one. At that point in time, we just have a hose that we connect to it, and I turn it off when the weather goes down freezing. Different story when you're up north. You do have to look at burying lines or having some type of solution, at least some of them buried, so you can have some winter grazing. But hope that helps, guys. Like I said, really appreciate you all watching. Make sure and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Check us out on Facebook. That does really help us out.